I want to talk to you a little bit about interpreting the meaning of intercepts. So we've talked about how to find the intercepts by plugging a 0 in for x and plugging a 0 in for y, and that would find our two intercepts. But I want to know, what does that mean? So often in math, we just plug and chug to find the solution, but we don't really think about what the solution means. So we're going to look at a couple of questions here where we're going to find what the intercepts mean. In our first example, we're going to talk about depreciation. So that is a regular accounting practice where we take away the value of the object as it decreases in value over time. So a vehicle would decrease in value over time, a copy machine would decrease in value over time, etc. So we're going to use something called straight line depreciation, obviously because we want it to be a straight line when we are graphing it. So for our first example, we have a trucking company that has a new truck that they purchased for $65,000, and the truck is going to be depreciated at $13,000 per year. So they've already been nice and given us this function, and this function is going to tell us the value as time goes on, where x is going to represent the number of years. So at 1 year, we would subtract the 13,000 from 65. At 2 years, we would double the 13,000 to 26,000 and take that away from 65, etc. So they want me to find the x and y intercepts. So we're going to do that, and we're going to plot them on this coordinate plane. So obviously I need a scale down here. I'm going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the bottom. On the side, we're going to call this, oh goodness, I don't even know. Let's just go by tens. So 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, etc. So I'm going to find the two intercepts. So we talked about how to find intercepts. To find the x-intercept, we will plug a 0 in for y. So 0 equals 65,000 minus 13,000x. I'm trying to get x by itself, so I'm going to add 13,000 x to each side. And that gives me 13,000x equals 65,000. And when I divide by 13,000, I get an answer of 5. So on this axis, I'm going to put a point at 5 because it's 5, 0. Now we need to find the other intercept. So I'm going to again use this equation. I'm going to plug a 0 in for x. Oop, I added an extra 0 again. So 13,000 times x is 0, so y equals 65,000. Man, with my extra zeros, I am sorry. 65,000, so that would be halfway between 60,000 and 70,000. And so my graph would be the straight line that connects those 2 points. Now here's where we're actually going to interpret the two. So on our other screen, we found out that the x-intercept was 5, and the y-intercept was 65,000. And they're saying, what does the x-intercept represent in the context of the problem? So in this problem, the 5 years, or 5, 0, means at 5 years, the value of the truck is 0. So that is what it represents. After 5 years, the value of the truck is $0. Again, because this is an x, y, and x represented the age of the truck and y represented the value of the truck. For y equals 65,000, that's 0, 65,000, which means at 0 years, or when we purchased the truck, the value of the truck was $65,000. So when the truck was new, its value was $65,000. Here's one for you to try on your own. So this one I didn't make you graph, but go ahead and find the two intercepts and then interpret them in the context of the question. For this one, we're dealing with an engine, basically, and so this is not depreciation, but we're dealing with an engine that burns gallons of fuel per hour, and they do tell me that Y represents the amount of fuel left in the engine after X hours. So X is hours and Y is fuel left in the engine. So it's helpful to kind of know what each represents as we move forward. To find the two intercepts, again, here's the equation they gave to me. To find the two intercepts, for one of them, I'm going to plug a 0 in for X, which gives me Y equals 30, which would be the point 0, 30. And for the other, I'm going to plug the 0 in for Y. I'm going to solve it just like I did my last one, add the 4x to each side, so 4x equals 30, divide by 4, x equals 7.5, which would be 7.5, 0, so that's a decimal. So interpret the x-intercept in the context of the question. The x-intercept is this one, and so the x-intercept says at 7.5 hours, the engine doesn't contain any fuel, or there are 0 gallons of fuel left in the engine. There's a lot of different ways that you could say it, but essentially we're saying after 7.5 hours, all of the fuel is gone. The y-intercept is this one, 0, 30, which means at time 0, or when we started the experiment or started the test, or when test started, there were 30 gallons of fuel in the tank. So hopefully that helps you to understand how to interpret intercepts.